Tat Tvam Asi. This is one of the most beloved sentences in the Upanishads, which are the books of knowledge out of which yoga has emerged. Tat Tvam Asi. It's often translated as Thou art that. Another way to look at it would be you are one with everything that exists. The idea behind this is that everything is made up of this immutable force. Just as in modern physics, we think that matter and energy are interchangeable and conserved, and the beginning was infinitesimal with almost infinite energy. But everything is made of the same stuff and transforms and changes, but doesn't disappear, is conserved. In the same sense, these ancient books talk about Brahm, which is this oneness of all things. And yoga is a practice that would help you take the posture, have a contemplative mind, and experience this oneness of all things. Because as these books mention, we have a word for color because there are many colors. If there were not many colors, if there was only one color, it would be impossible to have a word such as color. In the same way, when we think about the oneness of everything, we cannot really comprehend it in language. We can only experience it. The reason being, to have words, we have to have concepts. And to have concepts, we basically break this continuum of existence into finite pieces that we can put our minds around, that we can then describe through sounds and through written symbols as a concept, a word. And that's how we have language. So when we talk about the oneness of all things, words fail us. So there are some words that we can interpret as signposts that point towards this truth, like Om or Brahm. The idea is that these are signposts, that the oneness of all things can only be experienced. The way I like to think about it is think of a pond on which the wind is blowing and there are ripples in the pond. So the ripples change, they dance basically, but the pond water stays the same. In that sense, our mind has these thoughts which would be like the ripples. The wind is all these external factors around us, the people around us. And of course, the ripples in the pond are dependent on the consistency of the water, what's growing in the pond, what lives in the pond. So the way our brains are wired and structured, the experiences we've had, the genetic material we're made from, will condition these ripples, these patterns that are our thoughts. But the stuff, just as the pond water, does not change. And these are hard concepts, but there's a famous poem by Rumi which talks about this, where he says, I'm paraphrasing, that looked at one way, all the trees were standing still, but looked at another way, the entire garden was dancing. And that's what we have to realize, that this truth of this oneness of everything, where we realize that our ego is not separate, that that's a form of illusion, that these patterns, it's not that they're not real, but they are not as real as the stuff they're made of. Think of the pond again, of that analogy. The pond appears to us isolated, but really through the water in the ground, through the rain that is created, through rivers and streams, it's connected to the ocean. It's all in this one great flux of being. So, just as I gave the analogy of ripples, everything is in a sense ripples, these electromagnetic frequencies and colors. What are they? They are changing patterns of something that's immutable. And the books tell us that the ego is like a stick that's floating on the ocean, thinking it's dividing the ocean. But truly it's not. We are made of the same flux, the same occurrence, the same state of being. So the idea is that you try to become not a stick floating on the ocean, but a line drawn on the water. You want to be like a ripple or a wave. You want to understand yourself as a process. Thank you.